The Dershow.
I will tell you what RICO is all about and why it is utterly, totally, completely inapplicable to this case. But before we start, this is a case essentially about lying. The allegation is that Donald Trump lied. He knew the election was fair, but he lied about it. It's a case about lying. So why does it begin with the prosecutor lying, deliberately lying? She knows she cannot try this case within 6 months. No case in the history of RICO involving 19 defendants, a 95-page indictment, thousands of pages of documentation and discovery, all kinds of motions. There is no way this case can be tried within 6 months. Yet she looked the American public in the eye and she said, I want to try this case, all 19 defendants together. Together, I don't want to separate them out. I want to try them together within 19 months. Liar, liar, your law book's on fire. This can't happen. And you know it. You know it. I don't know whether or not the government can prove that any of these people who were indicted knew that the election was not stolen. I don't know that, but I can tell you one thing, prosecutor. You knew when you looked your camera in the eye, you knew you were lying when you said, I'm going to try to bring this case within 6 months. You can, if the case is tried within 6 months, please put this clip on television, embarrass me, and I will admit that I made a terrible mistake. It's not going to happen. This case is not going to be tried in 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or 12 months. It's going to take much more time. I've done many, many RICO cases. I've done the appeals on RICO cases. I've had to read thousands of pages of transcript. You know how long this trial itself is going to take? It's going to take months. It's like herding cats. When you bring 40 lawyers, and there'll be 40 lawyers, each of the defendants will have at least 2, some will have 3, some will have 4. You're going to bring 40 or 50 lawyers into a courtroom and say, all right, now, any of you have any motions? Yes, I have a motion, I have a motion, I have a motion. No, his motion is wrong, my motion is right. No, it's going to be impossible to conduct this trial. The first motion that's going to be made before we even get to RICO is Donald Trump will say, I was a federal official at the time of these alleged crimes. My office, President of the United States, POTUS. Under the law, I can move this case from the state court in Georgia to a federal court. Rudy Giuliani will get up and say, but I can't, Your Honor. I wasn't a federal official. I was a private citizen, so I can't move this case. So the court's going to have to decide, are you going to move the case for some of the defendants, but not for other of the defendants? If it's turned down, if Trump's motion to move the case is turned down, does he have a right to appeal it? If so, does he have a right to appeal it to the state court, to the federal court, to both? Will it come to the Supreme Court? This case is a seminar on criminal law. If I was still teaching, I could teach an entire course just on this case. I wouldn't even have to use the other 3 cases. As you know, in my book, Get Trump, I predicted all 4 of these cases. I was complimented the other day by Mark Levin, who called me the Nostradamus of law, because I've made correct predictions about all these cases. I also predicted, of course, that the Hunter Biden plea bargain would be thrown out. But I predicted this indictment. I did not predict that it would be a RICO indictment, because that is such a stretch that even the most imaginative lawyer would never dream they would bring a RICO prosecution. What if some of them, like Trump, actually believed and still believes that the election was stolen? And I, by the way, I'm convinced that he believes that. I haven't seen any evidence that shows that he has ever deviated from that stated belief. But what if there are some others who may have told somebody, maybe one of their lawyers? Now, lawyers' client privilege seems to be out the window when it comes to this. What if one of them said to his lawyer, I think the election was fair, but, I was a lawyer and they told me it wasn't fair, so I went along with them and I made the argument. Lawyers don't have to believe their clients. Do I believe that O.J. Simpson was guilty or not guilty? I'm not going to tell you, but it doesn't matter whether I believe he was guilty or not guilty. My job was to defend him. Lawyers don't have to believe their clients. But what if they come up with some testimony that defendant X, maybe not a lawyer, said to his girlfriend or to his mother, to another friend, oh, I really think the election was fair, but I really want Trump to be president because he's going to give me a good appointment. So I'm going to pretend that I believe that the election was not fair. And I'll say that, but I believe it was fair. That person might be able to be convicted, but how does the judge instruct the jury on that? Each individual has to be judged on their individual state of mind and their individual intent. We do not have guilt by association in the United States of America. And although the Supreme Court sometimes is soft on some of these intent issues, when it comes to guilt by association, they're pretty darn strong. And if this case gets to the Supreme Court and there isn't a record of an instruction to the jury that they have to find each individual had a specific corrupt intent to violate the law, namely that he knew the election was fair but said it wasn't, there's going to be a problem.